Hey, you hear that noise? Every time I bring my arm up, it's crackling. It sounds like popcorn or something. What is that? There's no pain, but every time I bring my arm up, I feel this crunching, crackling sensation in my shoulder. Like something's like grinding against the joint, or I don't know what that is, or the cartilage, or the ligaments, or the tendons gliding over the bone. It's noisy, doesn't give me pain, but every time I do a movement like that, like I'm doing side laterals, what is that? Well, let's see if we can improve that. Now, I'm not saying it's bad, I'm not saying it's good. I'm saying we don't really know exactly what's going on, but what I am saying is we could probably improve the positioning, our awareness of our posture and our joints so that we don't feel that crackling as much. Because you may not feel pain now, but we don't really know what that does over time, especially if you love lifting weights and under load, what that could do to the involved soft tissues and the joints over time. So let's see if we can improve that. The way you could probably do that is I want to teach you about what's called the plane of the scapula. The scapula is basically your shoulder blade. So check this out. Whoop. Here's the shoulder blade here, okay? Here's your upper arm bone, the humerus, that connects to the shoulder blade. The plane of the scapula, if you look at what we call an articular surface, of where the bones meet each other, of the shoulder blade bone over here, it's angled in a certain direction, okay? It's not 90 degrees out to the side like this, and it's not 90 degrees perpendicular right in front of us like this, okay? It's not here, it's not here. Generally, it's somewhere in between those extremes. Maybe 30 to 45 degrees, it's gonna vary with everybody. But the way you would find it is you get an idea of where your shoulder blade is resting on your upper back, your rib cage. So the way you would do that, you put your other hand, if your shoulders are still healthy and you have the mobility, you can kind of get a sense over here and feel, here's my shoulder blade, here's my spine, I'm moving my shoulder blade around. Okay, that's there, and I kind of get a sense where the shape of the shoulder blade, and it's leading out. Here's my deltoid, here's my shoulder. So for me, it's leading somewhere over here. So that's called the plane of the scapula. The movement, where you move your arm within that plane of the scapula, they usually call that scaption. I don't know if they still call it that, but I've been practicing since 1996. We used to call it scaption in sports medicine, sports physical therapy. So when you do that, it's theoretically moving in a way where there's least compression of the upper arm bone as it connects to the shoulder blade. If you go too far off to the side or too far forward and you raise the arm up, it can create a little bit of, can limit the motion. You can feel a little bit of that crunching, a little bit of compression on that joint. So we want to see if we could free that up a little bit. So when you move your arm, the shoulder blade is going to move as well, but there's always going to be a relationship between your upper arm bone and the shoulder blade, where the shoulder blade pretty much dictates that plane of motion that's going to move more smoothly, and that less crackling noise. That's, by the way, that's me, that's not my shoulder. So when you're doing an exercise like the side laterals, you're going to find that free space, so to speak, the least amount of compression and less audible noise or crunchy feeling or sensation. So you're going to find your plane of the scapula, and you're going to move your arm along that plane, okay? And if you still have, if it's decreased, the symptoms, but you still have a little bit, still within that plane of motion, you could either move your shoulder blade now. You can move your shoulder blade either forward, the shoulder blade glides forward on the rib cage away from your spine, or you can move it back where it moves towards your spine. I'll give you a little hint. Majority of patterns, if you have the crunchiness in your right shoulder, most likely you're going to want that shoulder blade to go back a little bit, and that's going to change the plane of the scapula a little bit, but you're going to move your arm so your hand is about shoulder level, a little bit above or below shoulder level, and then you're just going through that range and seeing if there's any difference. Then what you would normally do. This is without weight first, okay? If you feel it in the left shoulder, majority of times if you have crackling sensation in that left shoulder, this shoulder is probably a little too far back, and you got to move it a little bit forward and finding that path of the plane of the scapula. So once you have that, now let's get back over here. There's two things. Find the plane of the scapula. Two, see if you need to bring that shoulder forward or back more. So whichever one has the least audible or crunchiness sensation, okay? And then the last thing, if you're still feeling a little bit, or those symptoms, is as you bring your arm up in that plane of the scapula and you brought that shoulder forward or back, what feels better, you reach away. You pretend your arms are being distracted or reaching away from each other as you bring up. So there's this difference between, let's see if I can get on the camera here. Right? So it's a difference between you come like this, most people they go like this, I'm doing side laterals, and then the only difference is you're reaching out more. You're literally reaching here and you're reaching there, so you're distracting or decompressing as you lift your arms up. So I'm gonna take these little fat bells over here. So let's say I do my regular way. Ooh, I feel crackling right there in my right shoulder. So I'm gonna move my arm in the plane of the scapula, which is, for me, it's around over here, okay? Now it's gone, all right? So I don't need to go any further, but let's say I did that. Oh, let me move my shoulder back a little bit like this and find that plane. It's better. And then if I still feel it, it's a little better, but I still feel it, now I'm gonna reach away as I lift my arms up. Reach away and then down. No more crackling. So we may never know exactly what are the specific structures involved, if this is gonna be bad for my joints and the cartilage and my shoulder, or my rotator cuff, or my soft tissues. We don't really know because we don't have a crystal ball. We're not psychics, and we don't want to speculate too much and be afraid of doing these movements. But we can't possibly play around